Okay. We've done this before. I realize that, but I think if you have this out in front of you, or when you're doing a pop quiz or a test, that you have it, or you're able to duplicate at least the first quadrant, so you have the picture. All right. So let's label this. This is cosine theta, if we're calling this angle theta. Okay. This is sine theta. This is 1. All right, so the amazing joy of that. Long time no see. All right, thank you. Katie says lunch, so you probably should get a lunch at some point. Later. Okay. All right. Just don't let me forget. I forgot yesterday for someone. All right. And then from here to here. No, so by the way, that gives you one of your Pythagorean identities. Cos squared plus sine squared equals 1. All right, so down here, that's one of our identities. Cos squared plus sine squared equals 1. Okay? All right, so we have that right triangle. Now we have this other right triangle. We know that this is tangent. And that's 1. We know that this right here, length is secant. I like to think of it as secant. Makes you feel more positive. A secant, okay?
But what if you can't think about it?
Well, I hope we can. So we got 1 squared plus tan squared equals secant squared. So another Pythagorean identity. So 1 plus tan squared equals secant squared. And we should have our thetas in there. Don't forget those. I kind of get lazy on that sometimes. All right? And then we know that this right here is cotangent. Cotangent theta, and that runs from there to there. Okay? And 1 plus cotangent squared is equal to this right here, which is cosecant theta. Cosecant squared there. Okay, so we have this right triangle as well. All right, so we could add our last identity of 1 plus tan or cotan squared equals secant or cosecant squared. Okay, now how many of you are able to duplicate all of that without having to look anywhere, talk to anyone, or copy mine? Okay, how many had almost all of it? Well, good. Okay, tangent, let's talk about what tangent equals. Tangent equals sine theta over cos theta.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you. Cosecant is 1 over sine theta. Secant,
1 over cosine theta.
1 over cos theta. And cotangent,
Cosine theta over sine theta.
1 over tan theta or cosine theta over sine theta. All right, how many were able to get all those? Now this is what you're using a lot in this topic, topic 3. Okay, so as we go through questions today, and I'm going to try to give you some steps. I actually worked through all of yesterday's assignment again, just to kind of get myself back to your level, and try to come up with some concrete steps to help you out. And I worked through today's to do the same thing. Now, because I need the practice, even though it's kind of fun, I actually enjoy it. Yeah, it's kind of fun for me. I'm one of those people that like it. But hopefully I'll be able to help you out there. So what I want to do, let's go ahead and start by correcting yesterday's. And let's take that out. 1 through 6. Questions on 1 through 6. Sophie. Okay. 1 through 6 on this side. Okay. 7 through 9. Yeah, Julia.
Either like 1 of 7 or 8 or 1 of 11 or 12.
Okay. So if you're looking at, we'll get to those, but let's look at 7 or 8. When I check this out, I'm going to give you some steps here in a minute, and the steps, I'll read them off to you, and I'm going to put them up here in a minute, so don't try to copy them down. The steps I have: simplify numerator and denominator. Well, I don't have it here. Cross multiply. I can't do that here. simplify each side of an equation. Well, this isn't even an equation. My next step that I would write down, that I found myself continually doing when I went through this, I was trying to be very aware of what I was doing every time, trying to follow a concrete guide that will help you out. The next step, which sounds weird, is to make fractions. Like we like to eliminate fractions. We're going to make the fractions. Okay, so you now change everything to fraction form. So if I'm doing this one, I need to write that down for you real quick. Okay, if I'm doing this one, I'm changing cosecant to fraction form. That's 1 over
Sine theta.
sine theta. I'm going to change tangent to fraction form. That's cosine, or
The
excuse
sine
me,
theta over cosine.
sine theta over cos theta. And then cosine is already cosine.
Over.
All right, I can make it into a 1. Okay, over a 1 there.
Crosses.
Cancel, cancel, cancel. We get 1. Okay, so the point of making fractions, you make fractions to eliminate fractions. Okay, so after you make the fractions, your goal is to eliminate it. Now that seems counterproductive, except for sometimes by making the fraction, it allows you to multiply by a common denominator to eliminate the fraction. Okay, and that's what you're going to see a lot today. Okay, any other questions on 1 through 9? Okay, how about 10 through 12? Good, Sophie, what do you got?
11.
Okay, 11. Start making a note real quick. All right, so number 11. Number 11, looking at that one, there's no fractions to deal with, so you could make these into fractions, but that's not going to help you much on this one. Here, to simplify this side, I'm going to have to do FOIL or distributive property. So if I think back to how this works, I'm not going to show the whole piece, but tan theta plus 1 squared, remember, means that. Okay, so you have to FOIL. And you're going to do that for this one, and then you're going to do it for this one as well. If you remember the patterns there, the reason we learned patterns is it makes it a lot faster. So you get tan squared theta, you get 1 tan theta, and 1 tan theta to give you 2 tan thetas. And then you get 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, so this part right here turns into that. And then you have this guy here, that's going to be same thing. Tan times tan is tan squared theta. Tan times negative 1 is negative tan theta, and you're going to have 2 of those, so it's going to be negative 2 tan theta, and then plus 1. Now, if you look at that and you're like, I have no idea how he got that, then you need to write them side by side and FOIL them out. Okay? If you don't know that pattern. Now, if you know the pattern, it makes life a lot easier. Okay? We learned that back when we were dealing with binomials times binomials. So right here, when I look at this, the parentheses don't mean anything other than I've changed this into that, that into that. So I have this 2 tan theta and that negative 2 tan theta. Those two things are going to become 0. I got tan squared theta plus tan squared theta and 1 plus 1, or 2. So I have 2 tan squared theta plus 2. Okay, when you get down to that point and you have nothing, you're like, I can't do anything there. I can't even cancel things out. You need to look to factor. Okay, can I take the same thing out of both?
Yep.
Yeah, I can take a 2. So that gives me 2 tan squared, or 2 times tan squared theta plus 1. Okay? Now that I factored, I can apply a property here. And that's why I gave you this circle when you guys came in. I gave you this to have right next to you. That way you can look at these. If you can't remember them, you can look at them. Tan squared theta plus 1. Anytime you see one of your 6 functions squared, you should think, hey, if it's coupled with a 1, man, that right there gives me a property, or even if it's not coupled with a 1. If I have tan squared theta, okay, I can plug something in for that because it goes with a Pythagorean identity. In this case, 1 plus tan squared theta is secant squared. So this part becomes secant squared theta times 2. Okay? All right. Other questions? No questions on that one? Yeah?
12, oh, like on 11?
11 or 12?
12.
12? Okay. All right, so let's look at 12. Let me erase part of 11 so I have room here. All right, so on number 12, looking at it, 2 cos, secant, tan, cotangent. So I look at it and go, well, cosine and secant, will anything cancel there?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are reciprocals. That's a 1.
Okay.
Cotangent, tangent, those are reciprocals. That's a 1. And it just takes time seeing those. So we get 2 times 1 minus 1, or 2 minus 1, which is 1. Okay. Now there are multiple ways to do it. That's the easiest way. Okay? All right. Any other questions? All right, let's turn it over. I'm sure there aren't any questions on this side. This one was the easy side. I'm just joking. Okay. So let's take it bit by bit here. 1 and 2. Right, man. I'm a quarter of the way done. 3 and 4. Isabel.
4.
Number 4. Okay. So we've got our little cool guy symbol here. Okay. And here, let me give you these steps real quick. So maybe on the bottom of this sheet or somewhere you write these down. As I was working, and here's all my work. I just ran through it real quick today during algebra. They're working on their test. These are the things that I continually did. And I kind of went in that order. So maybe copying those down would help you out there. So like I said, I always try to go through these in order. So simplify that numerator and denominator if you can. Then cross multiply. Then simplify each side of your equation. And if I couldn't finish from there, then I made fractions, which seems ridiculous because you just eliminated your fractions. But the way I made fractions by applying the reciprocal properties. So if you want to put a note in here, that's by applying reciprocal properties. Or reciprocal identities. Okay? So like, for instance, I changed sine, or excuse me, not sine, I changed tangent to sine over cosine. That's how I made a fraction. So if you need an example, maybe you write that in there. You change tangent to sine over cosine. Okay, I then eliminated fractions by multiplying by a common denominator. I did that a lot of times. Sometimes I just cross-cancel, or always try to cross-cancel, I guess, first, but if you can't do that, then try to eliminate by multiplying by a common denominator. You're going to see that a few times. I tried to factor if I couldn't end it there, and then I'd apply the properties. And usually when I say apply properties, I'm talking about Pythagorean properties. Your Pythagorean, I guess that's not really properties, your identities. I always use that term. Those are the steps that I followed on every problem. Now, that's just how I kept going through them. Now, that you can do it in other ways, but this is more of a concrete guide for you, especially for those of you struggling. Try to go through this process. Okay. Okay? Can I move that now? Can I move it up? Yeah?
Properties, that's like your Pythagorean and your reciprocal, right?
Right, usually your Pythagorean because you applied your reciprocal up there.
Okay.
Okay? So which one were we on? Number 4. So if I'm following that guide, I'm going to simplify the numerator and denominator first if I can. So on number 4, I look at that numerator, tan y plus 1. Well, if it was a tan squared, I'm saying y, it's not y, but I'm using y, plus 1, then I could apply a Pythagorean identity, but it's not a squared, so I can't. Okay, I can't cancel anything. I can't do anything on the bottom here. Now, some of you are really good, and maybe you rewrite this right away and you go another approach. That's fine. Some of you, a lot of us are struggling with that. So, if I can't simplify, what's the next step? Can't simplify numerator and denominator.
Cross multiply.
Cross multiply. So if I'm cross multiplying, I'm going secant of y I know that's not a y.
Can we just make it theta?
You can make it theta if you want. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, secant times sine, and then secant plus secant times cosine. Okay, once again, I know they're not y's, but we're going to make them y's or thetas or whatever you want for now. Okay, I don't want the Greek symbols to mess you up. Okay, and then 1 times tan, so you get the exact same thing up there times 1, or plus 1. Alright, so now you have that. So now you have this big long string. From there, simplify each side of the equation. Well, I can't do anything on this side. I mean, there's nothing you can do there. But over here, when I look at secant and sine, I first look and see if they're reciprocals. Well, secant and sine aren't reciprocals. They're not going to make 1. Nothing's going to cancel there. You get 1 over cos and then sine over 1. Nothing happens. Secant and cos, though, are reciprocals. Right? That gives me 1. So now I have secant y times sine y plus 1 equals tan y plus 1. All right, we're pretty close. From there, if I'm following those steps, make fractions. Make fractions by applying identities. Well, I could do that here. I'm going to do that on this side that I'm still trying to simplify. So see if this is going to become 1 over cos. And some of you see that right away. How many saw right away that this was going to give you tangent? Okay? Secant 1 over cos and sine over 1, you multiply them together, you get sine over cos. Thank you. Sine over cos, which is tangent. So that's tan y, and this 1 comes down, plus 1 equals tan y, or tanny, plus 1, as Brooks would say there.
Yes, as I would say.
Okay? So there we've got it. Okay. Other questions? Any other questions on that problem? Okay. Any other questions 3 through 4 or 1 through 4? Halfway done. Yeah. All right. 5 and 6. Sophie. Number 5. All right. Number 5.
Numero 5.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the same process here on number 5. All right, number 5, we're going to try to simplify the top and the bottom if we can. Okay, so when I look at cosine squared and tan squared, okay, cosine is cosine squared over 1. Tan squared is sine squared over cos squared. So that's going to help me out. I'm going to get 1 minus
Sine.
cos squared over 1 times, and that's of x, and sine squared x over cos squared x. That's what tangent became. So tangent became this, cosine became this. Alright, that's all over secant squared x minus 1. And I know secant squared x minus 1, that's actually a Pythagorean identity.
It is, isn't it?
What is secant squared x minus 1?
Tangent.
That's tangent. Okay? So you got to really treat them as 4 separate or 3 separate problems here. So I got the top here, I'm simplifying. That's going to cancel that. I'm left with 1 minus sine squared
Oh, you can do it
on
that
top
way.
over tan squared x. So that's just that side of the equation. Now on this side, cotangent and cosine, cotangent is
Cosine over sine.
cos squared over sine squared. So it's not going to really help me tons right there. But if I just bring that part down and some of you know how it will help you there. I'm just kind of playing like maybe you don't know how it's going to help you. So if I'm following the steps, I've simplified the top or the bottom, and I've simplified the top kind of. I can actually change this still. It's an identity now, right?
Yeah.
That's cosine x.
Cosine squared x.
Thank you. Cosine squared x. So cos squared x over tan squared x. And some of you already see how that's going to take care of. I'm going to get rid of the fraction now. I'm going to eliminate it by cross multiplying. All right? If you saw how you could deal with this side already, like you're good with the fractions, that's fine. You could do it that way. If you don't worry about it. When you cross multiply, you get tan squared x times cotan squared x, and right there you should be happy, happy, joy, joy. Because this right here is 1. So now you have cos squared x equals cos squared x. Total what? Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. All right.
And how many of you did it a different way?
Yeah.
Questions on it? Okay, we're through 5. How about 6?
Yes.
Number 6? Yeah? Let me show 6 here. Number 6. Once again, when looking at 6, first thing I'm going to do is try to simplify numerators and denominators. Okay? And when I say that, I'm going to try to apply properties here. So like secant is 1 over cos. Cotangent is cos over cos over sine. So if I go cosine over sine for cotangent, so that's that. And then 1 over cos for secant, that's that part. That's just my numerator. I've canceled those. I'm left with 1 over sine. What's 1 over sine?
Cosecant.
Cosecant. So my new numerator is cosecant theta over
Secant plus cotangent.
sine theta plus cotangent theta equals 1 over sine squared theta plus cos theta.
Sino.
Yes, I know.
Sino.
All right. Can't simplify anything else easily. Okay, so let's cross multiply. Get rid of the fraction. So you get sine theta plus cotangent theta is equal to cosecant theta times sine squared theta. And then I've got to go cosecant theta. Yeah.
When you cross multiply, wouldn't you have cosecant times sine squared plus cosine?
Yep, plus cosecant theta times cosine theta.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Now from there, that's where I'm at now. All that's become that. Any questions up to there? This is it's almost 1, right?
Sine.
Yeah, it's sine. We get 1 over sine times sine squared for this. Which cancels out 1 of the sines, so you're left with sine theta. So this chunk up to the plus sign became sine theta. This right here is
1 over sine.
1 1 over sine theta times cos theta, which that becomes
Tangent.
tan
Plus
tangent.
tangent.
Oh, cotangent, excuse me.
Yeah.
Cotangent theta,
Time to cotangent theta.
which is nice since that's what the other side of the equation says.
Alright. Go math. Just kidding.
So there we got it. Probably should rewrite the answer. There you go. Okay, other questions on 7 or 8? 7 or 8? Casey, number 7, lucky number 7. You guys probably felt so lucky doing this one last time.
Nope.
All right. Okay, so on number 7, once again, first thing is to simplify tops and bottoms if you can. Okay, so in this case, when I look at it, there's not much I can do up here, not much I can do here. Don't be a distraction. Okay, here I'm going to actually distribute because sometimes it's tougher when you have that extra piece in there. So I'm going to distribute. You don't have to, but that's going to give me tan theta times sine theta minus tan theta. Okay? Tan and sine, they don't cancel anything. So if I cross multiply now and I go this times that, and then 1 times that, that's going to give me sine theta times tan theta minus secant theta, all times 1, equals cosecant theta plus 1 times the quantity tan theta times sine theta. Am I still on the screen there? Minus tan theta. All right, so that's where we're at. That's our new problem after cross multiplying, which is a mess. So if I'm following all those steps that I gave you, I've cross multiplied, simplify each side. On this side, there's not tons to simplify yet. Okay, over here I can do distributive or FOIL, and then try to simplify.
FOIL.
So cosecant times tangent sine. And then cosecant times so you get that. And then we go here, we get tan. So plus tan sine theta. I'm going to write that. Actually, I guess I'm going to write it over here. And then minus tan theta.
Ow.
Barely could fit it all on the screen. That's just that one side of the equation. Now let's try to simplify here. Cosecant and sine gives us 1. So I'm left with just tan theta from that piece. Notice when I say piece, I'm just going up to a subtraction or addition sign. This, you get a tan theta here.
The very end there's a minus tan theta.
Okay, let's get through this piece, right? This is 1 over sine.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
it's gonna be minus CK.
Okay, those cancel. So that's from this piece right here, the middle part.
Yeah, and that.
Okay, so that gives me 1 over cosine, which is
CK.
secant theta. And here I get tan times sine. It's not helping me much. But I have minus a tan here. That's what Huber is saying. So if I put it all together, okay, and then I have this tan theta I got to bring down. All right, these are going to cancel. Tan minus tan is 0. So I get negative secant plus tan
Equals.
theta times sine theta, which is exactly what you have on that other side. Okay? You have sine theta times tan theta minus secant.
It abused my mind.
Okay, just in a different order. Move that secant. You got it. Okay, guys, that's quite a mess, but you really have to apply a lot of what we've done this year. Any questions on what happened there? Okay, questions on 8? Anyone need 8?
Sure.
Yeah, sure?
No. Yes, please. We're good. Yes, please.
How many need 8? Here's what I'll do. I'm going to work through 8 while I'm going to give those of you who want your assignments on the chair. Okay? Those of you who want to see 8, I'll work through it up here. Okay, so on number 8, I'm going to first look and see if I can simplify the top or the bottom. I can't do it. Okay, I could go through and try to do a distributive property here and FOIL, but I know when I cross multiply by 1, I'm not going to change the top, so I'm going to just start by cross multiplying. It's going to give me sine theta plus cos theta, quantity squared, plus 1 equals 2 tan times cotan, so 2 tan theta times cotan theta, and then 2 tan theta plus cos squared theta. All right, so that's what I get after I cross multiply. And so from that one, I now can look at that. That gives me a 1. So from that piece, I get 2 plus 2 tan theta. This should be times cos squared. 2 times tan. I'm going to change tangent to sine over cosine, because I know that I'll be able to cancel a cosine. That cancels that, which gives me sine times cosine, so I get 2 plus 2 sine cos, sine theta cos theta. Okay, so I could factor out a 2 there, I guess, and get, well, if I have to at the end, I will. Let's go ahead and move over to this side and actually FOIL that. So I get sine squared theta plus 2 sine cos theta plus cos squared theta plus 1. All plus 1 at the end. Okay, sine squared theta and cos squared theta I know makes 1. It's a Pythagorean identity, so I get 1 plus 2 sine theta cos theta plus 1, which then 1 plus 1 is that 2 there. So 2 plus 2 sine theta cos theta, and we're good.
Because then it turns into sine over cosine. And that would be secant minus 1 equals secant.
All right, questions on that one?
I don't know.
I'll leave it up there for you. Keep working on today's. Here in about 5 minutes, I'll go up and I'll ask if you had any questions on the front. I know you're not going to finish the front in 5 minutes, but some of you might have questions by then.
Cosine squared beta. Yeah, number 7.
Okay? Everyone's attention up here.
It's not the same thing.
Hey, waiting for your your attention. I know how to do 7. Okay? How many of you got it? I'm looking at my work from earlier. I did it in really 2 steps. Okay? What can I take out of sine squared and sine to the 4th? Sine squared.
Oh, this was mine.
So when I do that, sine squared out of sine squared is 1, minus sine squared out of sine to the 4th is sine squared. What can I take out of cos squared and cos to the 4th?
Squared.
What do we call that?
Factoring.
Factoring. All right, apply your properties. What's 1 minus sine squared?
Cosine.
Cos squared, fishy. Times sine squared, fishy. Equals cos squared, fishy. And what's 1 minus cos squared, fishy?
Negative sine.
Sine squared fishy.
Sine squared, fishy. We're now done. Pretty sure that's alpha.
No, it's
Fishy.
Fishy.
Fishy sounds better. Okay?
I like